Okay, so today we're going to be doing an oil filter change on our Td5. It's always important to warm the vehicle up so the oil's nice and thin so it drains out nicely. So engine's nice and hot now, oil's nice and thin, ready to drain out. We're going to be replacing the rotor filter, or otherwise known as centrifugal filter. That just collects debris, finer things, all the metal swarf and bits and bobs that the bigger filter won't. And that's your normal engine oil filter. If I grab a light, so this housing just there, that's where your rotor filter goes. You've got two 10mm if I remember correctly. That pops off and the rotor filter comes out. The oil filter, which you can see just down there, which is absolutely filthy and looks like it's been leaking, hasn't been changed in a long time. But obviously where we've warmed the engine up now, the exhaust is going to be very hot, so you do have to be very careful not to burn your hands. Right, so oil cap off, put in a safe place so it's not going to slide away. Really, it shouldn't be on top of the engine like I've just done for exactly that reason. Dipstick out, this just helps it drain out a bit better. Next step, we're going to jack the vehicle up. Right, so the vehicle's jacked up. We've jacked them off both the trailing arms and the front of the C-arms. It's quite secure there. Good practice and always worth doing. Put your axle stands underneath. I've had a vehicle fall on me before and it's not very nice. Got my lay down mat, my oil tray ready, and my 17mm on the ratchet. That's the oil bung there. Not that you can see it very well because the camera's not focused and it is absolutely filthy under of oil leaks. I'm going to have to look at all those, try to figure out what's going on. I'm not going to record myself trying to undo that oil bung, as much as it will be funny when I start clouting my hands on stuff, but I'll record the oil coming out. Right, so that's the sump bung cracked off. On another note, always wear gloves if you're able to when dealing with oil, because it is a carcinogenic. So I'm going to drag my oil container hopefully under the sump bung and start draining. Swap hands here. Hopefully you can see it there. Obviously, had I not been holding the camera the other hand, I would have undone that a bit more. The ratchet. Top tip, I'll say this, it will all go wrong now and get sprayed in the face. When you're removing an oil bung, a sump bung, not like that, it's always worth trying to slack it off and pull it out quick. Then you don't get your hand absolutely coated like that. Especially with sump bungs that are pointing backwards and they're going to projectile. This engine does hold quite a bit of oil, so I am just going to wait in case it fills my tray up too much. But you can see the colour of that oil is absolutely filthy. It's horrible. And that's why we're doing an oil change on it, because that oil, the oil degradation, it's not going to be good for the engine whatsoever. So yeah. Right, so while that oil is still draining away, we're going to change the rotor filter up here. I'm not going to change the normal engine filter until I've redone the sump plug up, because it is going to drain down the side of the block and drip all over me if I'm under there. So next bit will be the rotor filter going in. So I've removed the rotor filter, grab my new rotor filter there, and as you can see there's a rod in the middle and it just passes straight up through the middle there. So I'm going to try to slide that down without getting any muck on it, because like I said, this engine is quite filthy. I need to give it a good steam clean, see where these oil leaks are coming from. So I'm going to try to line that up like that, and it just slides down there, it spins. Now our cap, it should have two 10mm on it. Because this goes into an alley housing, it is quite easy to strip the thread within the alley housing. So as you can see, someone stripped a bolt and they've put an Allen key in there, so we will be trying to change that to another 10mm just to ease application in future. And the only other thing is you've got a little oil seal there, which we'll be replacing while we're there, which comes with the oil filter. Right, so that's the rotor filter all done. The sump bung's in there with new washer, all nice and tight. I've moved the oil drainer from over there round to here, and I've taken the oil filter off and let it drain into that container. So we're just about to put the new oil filter in. Always remember, a blob of grease or engine oil just around this seal, and then just as you're doing it up, it doesn't snag the seal or break the seal. It's nice and smooth, and obviously it also acts as a sealer and makes it a lot easier to get back off next year for its service. Right, so that's both oil filters done, as you can see down there, and you won't see that one because obviously it's encased in the housing. Make sure that you remove your axle stands before going down. I've done that before as well. So go down a bit with this one, down a bit with that one. Ready for new engine oil. A lot of people have their preferred engine oils. Mine is the Napa brand and it's 530 C3. Right, so this engine holds 7.2 or there and thereabouts of oil from a complete drain and new filters obviously. I'm just going to put 5 in, and then going to check the dipstick. It's important not to overfill engines with turbos, or any engine for that matter. So we'll put 5 litres in, we'll check the dipstick, and it will need more than that. And then I'll just slowly go about putting more oil in, checking the dipstick each time to make sure I don't overfill it. Once I've done that, the oil filter will need filling, so we'll fire the vehicle up, watching the oil light. We'll only run it for around 10 seconds, switch it off and recheck the oil, because the oil level would have dropped after both the filters were filled. Right, so I'm quite satisfied with where my engine oil level is before fire up. So back in the dipstick, oil caps on. Make sure there's no rag or anything to get sucked into the engine when I fire it up. You're probably thinking, well, that oil's quite black, but it is a high mileage car, and most diesels, you put fresh oil in and it washes down the old oil down the block. You could flush the old oil out with the sump bung out, but you're just going to go through so much oil, and it's not really going to harm the engine. It will be a lot blacker after I've fired it up anyway. So I'll fire it up, and then I'll show you the difference between. Obviously you just saw it with it on maximum, and you'll see the difference between it on maximum and once it's filled both the oil filters, and where the oil level then sits. So we'll just leave it to run for about 10 seconds, check there's no engine oil light on, which there isn't, and just keep an eye on that while it's running. And we'll switch it off. It is important to wait for a while whilst that oil drains back down, because otherwise you'll get a misreading. But just for an example, so you have to excuse me, I'm trying to do this one-handed. If I wipe the dipstick clear, you can now see there's no oil on that dipstick whatsoever. So I'll go in. Like I said, really you should wait a few minutes before doing this, but I'm just trying to show you the difference. So now we're down to minimum. Like I said, it will go up slightly after a few minutes, but that's how much oil it's used just to refill those oil filters. So it is important to fire the vehicle up, fill those oil filters, and then recheck your oil and top up accordingly. So that's our Td5, engine oil filters and engine oil all changed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, then please give us a subscribe. Thanks for watching.